So welcome back. In this session, we'll be talking about GMC, or goal, motivation, and conflict, something that every romance must have to maintain a forward-moving storyline. So this may be something you have heard of before. Goal, Motivation, and Conflict was popularized by Deborah Dixon and her book by the same name, and it is a fascinating read that I highly suggest. It is one of the foundations that we can find across romance and modern literature. There is a link in the workbook for that book. So when we're talking about story essentials, having these three details figured out can really help to make a story cohesive and the characters to stay in their lane and not go off on some excursions that we're not expecting. Now, I am a plotter and I'm going to be acting as if you will be too. This is for two reasons. Even if you do an overview outline of your story, you're still way ahead for keeping on track and not allowing for side excursions that have nothing to do with moving the story forward or relating to the conflict or growth of your characters. And second, plotting out a story will help you to see any gaps in continuity or plot holes, especially if you get the goals, motivations, and conflicts of the characters clear from the beginning. So what are goals, motivations, and conflicts? So the goals are the desires, wants, needs, and ambitions and purposes of a character. It is simply, what do they want? This is what they are struggling to achieve. Whereas motivations are what is driving the character. It can include backstory events. It is simply, why do they want the goal? And this is why they're so set on achieving that goal. And conflicts are the roadblocks, troubles, issues, tensions, and friction in a story that stop a character from getting what they want. It is simply, what will keep them from that goal, and what will the goal be? Will it be changed, abandoned, or achieved at all costs? This is what causes them worry and angst, thinking about not achieving it. So when it comes to conflict, there are two types. There needs to be something that's battling inside of the character, which is internal conflict. And there needs to be something battling outside of the character, which is external conflict. In the examples of outlines that I provide coming up, I use 3 movies to show how the stories progress based on 3 different outlining methods that are common in the writing world. And I'll be using those movies, which are You've Got Mail, The Wedding Singer, and The Proposal, for examples. If you haven't seen them, I suggest you do. They are good examples of all 3 of these terms. So, I'll use You've Got Mail for this first example of GMC. So what do the characters want in the movie? Meg Ryan's character, which is Kathleen Kelly, has a goal of keeping her independent bookstore, Shop Around the Corner, running. Tom Hanks's character, Joe Fox, has a goal of opening a mega discount bookstore right across the street from Kathleen's shop. So you can see already their goals aren't matching. So motivation. Why do the characters want it? Kathleen Kelly feels a need to honor her mother's legacy as the person who changed people through books. Otherwise, she's letting her mother down. Joe Fox wants to take over the book world without thinking of who he hurts. because he has learned from his father it's just business and not personal attitude. So when it comes to conflict, what stands in their way? So Kathleen falls for a man online while falling out of love with her current beau. This is her internal conflict. And her efforts to save her business fail despite extraordinary measures to save it. This is her external conflict. Joe realizes who Kathleen is, his secret pen pal online, and he knows she'll never fall for him after what he's done to her mother's legacy. Maybe his all business hurts people, his external conflict, and he can change to be the man she needs. This is his internal conflict. So, we have in totality, Kathleen Kelly wants to keep her independent bookstore open because she wants to honor her mother's legacy as the person who changed people through books. But a new discount bookstore is opening around the corner. She falls for a man online, dividing her attention, and despite her efforts to save her business, she ultimately fails. Joe Fox wants to expand his large discount bookstore because in his family business, business is business, and it's not personal when you step on someone. But soon he realizes he's in love with Kathleen and must find a way to change his attitude to get her to forgive him and fall in love with him too. And I would like to say there's also a cute dog. Granted, all this happens while she doesn't know who Joe Fox really is, so it's just little bit stalkery, and they're both in relationships when the flirting starts. But overall, it's a good example of a sweeter romance with a little humor thrown in there. And like I said, there's a really cute dog, Wrigley, who is just adorable. So, there will be many secondary goals that the character will experience in each chapter to move the story forward. In Kathleen Kelly's example, she comes to the realization that she needs help from others to organize a street rally. She can't do it on her own. She needs to make sure that those who have been allies in the past stay that way. And she tries to act like nothing is wrong so her employees don't worry because she cares for them. If there are no obstacles in a story, the reader will become bored. We must give challenges to the characters to both overcome and fail. It's often in the failing to reach the goal that the character grows the most. Have them pivot to another goal and pivot to another goal and find out that original goal wasn't what they needed. There is a goals, motivations, and conflict outlining sheet in the workbook. Be sure to take a look at that for every story you create to make sure you're providing readers with the richest experience possible. Okay, so that's goal, motivation, and conflict. Let's come back and talk about character and setting in sweet romances next. Be sure to come back.